Good afternoon to all the participants. Here we are for day two, session two of our short term training program sponsored by AICTE on fundamentals of finite element analysis and its applications in engineering. Session two will be on 2D element, plane stress, plane strain conditions, and their applications, and will be presented by Ganesh, Associate Professor, Department of Mechanical Engineering, Trivandrum College of Engineering, Penn. To introduce this for us, I request Mr. G. Sendil Kumar, Associate Professor of Department of Mechanical Engineering, Panimal Institute of Technology, to introduce the guest for us.
Thanks, Samu sir. Good afternoon to everyone joined in this session. I have immense pleasure to welcome Dr. V. Ganesh, Associate Professor, Department of Mechanical Engineering, Sri Venkateswara College of Engineering, Chennai. Dr. V. Ganesh, having 19 years of teaching experience in Sri Venkateswara College of Engineering, Chennai. He has completed doctorate in mechanical engineering in Anna University during the year 2013. He has completed master degree in the branch of automobile engineering in Anna University in the year 2002. He has finished his bachelor's degree in mechanical engineering in the year 1999 Government College of Engineering, Tirunelveli, Manomaniyam Sundaranath University. Dr. V. Ganesh received a grant of rupees 7,500 for the project titled Design and Fabrication of Load Adaptive Braking System on a project code 0 through State Council for Science and Technology 2019. Performed for final and received innovation project advanced level 2017 for their project titled Design Variable Braking System use intelligent dual calipers on 15 2017 award Indian Academy of Engineering, New Delhi. He organized a faculty development and program on 2 years ending 27th November to 5th December 2017 at the Automobile Engineering Department, Sri Venkateswara College of Engineering, Sriperumbudur, Chennai. This program is sponsored by Anna University, Chennai. He has organized faculty development and training program on vehicle dynamics during 23rd to 30th November 2016 at Automobile Engineering Department, Sri Venkateswara College of Engineering, Sriperumbudur, Chennai. This program also Anna University, Chennai. He has organized a 2-day workshop on fundamentals of vehicle dynamics using modern tool during 28th January and 29th January in the year 2019 at Automobile Engineering Department, Sri Venkateswara College of Engineering, Sriperumbudur, Chennai. This program is sponsored by college itself. He organized a faculty development program on vehicle dynamics using MATLAB during 27th November to 1st December 2018 at Automobile Engineering Department, Sri Venkateswara College of Engineering, Sriperumbudur, Chennai. This program is also sponsored by the management of SVCE, Chennai. He has more than 20 years in business and is guiding 3 PhD students in an IIT. Recently, one scholar completed his PhD program under his supervision. Sir, now I hand over the session to you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your nice introduction. Thank
Welcome,
you.
sir.
Am I audible, sir?
Yes, sir. Audible, sir.
Yes, thank you.
Thank
First of all, I would like to thank the management of Panimalar Institute of Technology for inviting me to deliver a special talk in phase 2 of AST sponsor STTP on fundamentals of finite element analysis and its application in engineering. I would like to extend my sincere thanks to uh, the principal of PIT, head of the department of mechanical engineering, and Professor Murugan sir, and the faculty members, the supporting staff who involved directly or indirectly for this program, STTP program. So good morning to all of you. So today we are going to discuss about the 2D element plane stress plane strain condition and their application. I assume that I think so. The program started yesterday. You might have completed that 1D problem. So once you completed that 1D problem, one dimensional problem, then we can move on to two-dimensional uh, element. So I'm assuming that the topic uh, has been completed yesterday or today morning session. So the introduction about the 2D plane stress, most of the where we are applying this 2D plane condition gear tooth analysis. As we know, the gears are matting, and drive gear and driven gears are matting, having the line contact. So while analyzing that kind of problem, we assume that it is simply for simple analysis, we can consider as a cantilever beam, and we are completing the design, mechanical analysis. I'm talking about mechanical analysis. How much is the stress is induced, uh, where the maximum stress is induced. That kind of analysis we can do. So while doing that kind of analysis, some cases we can assume that the gear tooth problems is coming under 2D plane stress problem. Similarly, hook analysis, many hooks are used to carry the loads. So that is also coming under 2D problem analysis plane stress. So in two-dimensional element are defined by 3 or more nodes in two-dimensional plane. Two-dimensional plane generally we can x, y, z. So x-axis we may have x-axis and y-axis. If you have if you want to mark a point in a sheet in a plane, we need x coordinate and y coordinate. Then only we can create a node. Create a node. So I'm creating a node in a plane. So I need 2 coordinates. Then only Cartesian coordinate. I'm talking about Cartesian coordinate. Only with respect to Cartesian coordinate only I can create a nodes. If you want, we can create a node using cylindrical uh, coordinates. But generally we are using for creating nodes using Cartesian coordinates. It's so easy. Some problems we are using cylindrical or spherical coordinate system. Sometimes, some cases we are using. We have to assume that another direction is equal to 0. That means I'm talking about is the direction. We are assuming it is 0. Then we can create. But general we are using Cartesian coordinate x and y. Some of the 2D elements are shown below. So triangular element. So what is the special in this? This element has 3 nodes. Node 1, node 2, node 3. Actually here it is mentioned clockwise. Better you have to represent node in the counterclockwise direction. That is a I will tell you why we have to use in the counterclockwise direction. But it is not mandatory. It should be in the counterclockwise direction. It may in the clockwise direction. It's not issue. 1, 2, 3. It is created in the clockwise direction. Generally, you create in counterclockwise direction. Similarly, if you want, we can have quadrilateral elements, which has 4 nodes. Here you can see that 1, 2, 3, 4. Here 1, 2, 3, 4 are nodes. All the 4 nodes, using all the 4 nodes, I have created a element. Actually, this is element actually. And the finite element means entire structure we are making into small element. That is a concept of finite element. So here I am showing only the one element of a structure. Okay, this is a one element. Once again, I am telling this is one element of the structure. It is not an entire structure. Okay, The entire structure you have to break into small element. So we may have triangular element or quadrilateral element in case of 2D problem for simple analysis. So here in the right hand side you can see that it give more inputs, what I explained just now. If you consider this hook, that entire hook is divided into many elements, elements. If you consider this triangle, I think so. You can see my cursor. Anyone, please acknowledge it. So can you able to see my cursor, sir? Hello.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes. Okay. So if you take this triangle, this is one element. So here there are many elements for this entire structure. We cannot count right now. Okay. So here example up to this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 elements are here. We have 13 elements for this structure, part of this structure. So, but here it is shown only the one element, 1, 2, 3. This is one element. So, one element is shown here. So, if you right hand side, if you look at this, this is the entire body. The external forces are acting. These various forces are acting in the body with some orientation. With respect to x and y various orientation, it is acting. I am taking a small part, a small element or small domain. I am taking small area. I am focusing that they have taken. That is x-axis. We have y-axis. Let us assume it is a cube. It is a cube. Then we have to represent. We have to denote here the stresses, and the stress acting along the x direction is taken as tau x. There is a stress acting in the x direction. This is stress acting in the y direction, tau y. We have assumed it is tau y. Similarly, here the shear stress, tau xy. Tau xy is the shear stress. How to represent this xy and this the first the xy letter alphabet. The first x represent the perpendicular to the x-axis. What I try to say, this plane, if you consider this plane is perpendicular to x-axis. That's why I have put first x. Then that is normal to x-axis. Then y, the direction is the stress is in the upper direction. The upper direction is the y-axis, pointing towards y-axis. That's why it is represent xy, tau xy. So the first one is normal. Second one is that and which direction it is acting. That's why it is xy. Similarly, if you come to this this plane is perpendicular to y-axis. That is normal to y-axis. And the second alphabet, that is x, the stress is induced parallel to x, along the x. I can say along the x. That's why it is noted as tau yx. So if you consider the small portion of this entire structure, x direction, the stress is acting in the x direction, stress is in y direction, yx and xy. Here one question is rising, what about the z direction? Z direction. Generally in the plane stress problem, the stress along the z direction is very small, it is negligible, it will not give any impact. It will not impact. The next question, why? Because generally very simple, the stress generally if you take if I want to explain in mathematically, load divided by area. If the area is high in the particular direction, right, with respect to load, I have to look at the load as well as the area, right? The area is somewhat big, we don't bother about that stress. Or the load is not acting in the z direction itself. Load is not acting in the z direction. We don't bother about that stress. This is a simple concept. Simple concept. General definition, what is stress? We are always saying that load by area. Load by area. If load is negligible, the stress is zero. Or the area is somewhat big, the stress is zero. We don't want to focus on it. Want to focus. So in this analysis, the plane stress problem, we are assuming that the load is not acting in the z direction. The load is acting in the z direction, no doubt about it. We have to consider the stress along the z direction. Okay, so that is a concept of the plane stress. The definition it is given here: a state of stress in which normal stress and shear stress directed perpendicular to the plane are assumed to be zero. So what I explained right now, that is given in terms of wording, right? And the members are very thin. The z direction, the thickness is very small. The another way to easy to explain, if the member thickness is very small, very small, then we have to ignore it. But here, one thing, important thing, the orientation of the force is very important. Orientation of force is, if the force is acting in the xy plane, then we don't bother about that thickness of the particular body, right? The force is acting some direction, not in xy plane, not in xy plane. We cannot consider that problem as plane stress problem. That is also important. What I try to say, if the member is very thin, don't say that this problem is coming under plane stress. The orientation of the force is very important. So mathematically, the stress along the z direction equal to 0. Similarly, the shear stress tau xz and yz is equal to 0. That means the physical meaning it is negligible. There may be a small normal stress, no doubt about it. We cannot say it is zero exactly. Theoretically, we cannot say it is zero. Practically, we cannot say it is zero. Definitely, the stress will be there, but it is very minimum. That is negligible. We don't want to consider it. So here you see the example in the left hand side. All the houses we can see is this kind of lock. So here a person is pulling this member after using key lock this right member, and is try to pulling this here. The orientation of force in the xy plane, plane. So this member is subjected to plane stress problem. As per the definition, the z direction, the thickness is very small. Thickness is very small. Suppose a force is acting perpendicular to this member, perpendicular to this, that means perpendicular to the xy plane. So we cannot say that is a plane stress problem. So here, so the what is that very important thing? The orientation of force. Orientation of force. Since the force is acting in the xy plane, you may consider for analyzing this member plane stress problem, right? Same time, the same structure, the orientation of the force, that means applied force is perpendicular to this member, then we cannot consider as a plane stress problem. So that while before analyzing, you have to ensure all the conditions. Similarly, that one more example is given in a two-wheeler. You can see that this observer mounting bracket. Here you can see that it is encircled. Here you see that if you when the vehicle is come across a very bump and the wheel is come across a bump, then what will happen? The road shock is transmitted. So this bracket is subjected to similar to this member, lock member. Okay, so that is subjected to plane stress. Here also it is assumed that the force is acting in this direction, along this direction, that the axis of the shock observer. Then only we can do plane stress analysis, right? These are the example, real-time example. The another example you can say that in our house, the curtain, we are using some brackets and rod for holding the curtain. Here, at the end of the that member, that curtain member, you can see that this kind of member you can see that member see that. So that is also subjected to plane stress problem. Plane stress problem. So the condition, the first condition is generally the orientation of the force in the xy plane. Definitely it should be in the xy plane. Not in it's not mandatory. It should be in x direction and y direction. X, y, or orientation with respect to x-axis some angle. It's not issue. Similarly, and the second case, if the you have to ensure that the force is acting only in this direction. If suppose if you are designing the bracket like this, you are assuming that the force is acting in the xy plane. The practical case, the force is acting something in the z direction. Definitely, the member will fail. Example, I will tell in that in our house the curtain it will bend in some direction. If you apply the force in the z direction, it will be easy to bend because that the thickness is very small. While the designer is consider that no force is acting in this z direction, but then the practical case, the user is applying a force in the z direction. What would happen? That member is easy to bend. Easy to bend. Okay, those points and all we supposed to consider. The orientation of force is very important. So come to the FEA. So this type of problems we have to use triangular element. So I have 1, 2, 3 here is counterclockwise direction. Nodes are in counterclockwise direction. So U1, U2, U3 are the displacement of node 1, node 2, node 3 respectively along the x direction. Similarly, V1, V2, V3 are the displacement of node 1 and 2 and 3 respectively in the y direction. So what is given here in this diagram? The displacement of node 1, 2, 3 along the x direction and y direction. I have used U for displacement along the x direction, V for displacement along the y direction. So this type of element is called constant strain triangle because the strain is same the member, the entire not a member, entire element. That's why it is called constant strain triangle. So we can call it as CST. So the right hand side, if you look at this, a plate is subjected to a load, tensile load. P is applied here, 2P is applied here, P is applied this node. So this entire plate is subjected to the tensile load. The force is acting. So I have divided this entire structure into how many elements? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 plus 8, 16, 16 elements here. 16 elements here. How many nodes? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So there are 15 nodes and 16 elements. 16 elements. Okay. So in this case, if I want to do a calculation, a manual calculation, it's so lengthy, That's why we are using a software to solve the problem. Easy way to I can explain, and all the software are a good mathematician. Good mathematician. In or I would say, if you have a 12 cross 12 matrix, if you want to find the inverse of this 12 cross 12 matrix, it could not be possible. It will take long time. Even 4 cross 4 matrix. Generally, the mathematics we are doing 3 cross 3 matrix. We are finding the I inverse. That's all. 4 cross 4, it is very tough. We cannot do it. So imagine that kind of mathematical work, how to do that. As a engineer, mechanical engineer or automobile engineer, we are not familiar in mathematics, but we are using mathematics. So that application of mathematics in automobile engineer, mechanical engineer. So, but we can't learn mathematics, complete mathematics. So we need some help. That's why we are using all the software. It's easy to do that. To do that. So that is again that node 1, 2, 3, that is the x1, y1 are the coordinate, Cartesian coordinate of node 1. x2, y2 is the Cartesian coordinate of node 2. x3 and y3 is the Cartesian coordinate of node 3. Node 3. Here, don't confuse that. I have defined that u is the displacement vector for the element. For the element. But what is u1? u1 is the displacement of node 1 along the x direction. v1 is the displacement of node 1 along the y direction. Similarly, u2, u3. So here that displacement u represent here the displacement vector for this element. For this element, I can put it in another way. If I am using node 5, 6, 7, 5, 6, 7, then the displacement vector for the element is u5, v5, u6, v6, right? u7, v7. In this way, we are supposed to write. Here, one more important point here. Each node has 2 degrees of freedom. Each node has 2 degrees of freedom. The previous topic generally in the FEA, the one-dimensional element, one-dimensional bar element or whatever it is. In that case, one-dimensional bar element, that is very easily we are assuming that each node has 1 degrees of freedom. 1 degrees of freedom. What is this here? It is a degree of freedom. Degree of freedom means number of independent coordinates is it's required is completely define the position of the system. What does it mean? If any point of time I want to tell the after I'm what I try to say after applying load. After applying a load on a structure, everyone knows the structure is going to deform. After applying load, the structure is going to deform. Our intention is to find out how much is going to deform. But we are not, for using FEA, we are not going to find out that displacement of or deformation of the structure. We are interested the deformation of each and every node. Each and every node. That means that various point of the structure. So here, after applying load, the member is going to deform, right? After the deformation, I have to say where the node 1 is located after applying load. I need how many coordinates is required? I need 2 coordinates in this case. In this case, I need 2 coordinates. That's why this 2 degrees of freedom. 2 degrees of freedom. 2 coordinates means what are the coordinates? Say example x1, y1. Let us take x1 is 2, y1 is 3. After applying load, for easy understanding, I'm telling, right? 2.1. 1 is displaced the right hand side, the 0.1. Similarly, the y1 is displaced to some value, example 0.2 mm, 0.2 mm. So the along the x direction, the node 1 is deformed to 0.1 mm. Along the y direction, the node 1 is deformed to 0.2 mm. So how many coordinates are required? Only 2 coordinates. Anytime. So that's why it is called each node has 2 degrees of freedom. Once again, I am telling what is the degrees of freedom? Number of independent coordinates are required to completely define the position of the system at any instant or any point of time. That is called degrees of freedom. So here, the node 1, node 2, node 3 has all the nodes have 2 degrees of freedom, right? So 2 degrees of freedom, that means the node 1, node 2 in another way, that is way to explain, the node 1 may deform in the x direction and y direction. The question, what about the z direction generally? Z direction is negligible. That is the assumption. Plane stress problem. We are assuming that the member will not deform in the z direction. We are assuming, please understand. Why we are assuming that? Because that application of force in the xy plane only. We are applying force only the x direction or y direction or the combination of x and y. That is the orientation of xy, right? We are not at all applying a force in the z direction, right? That's why we are assuming that is plane stress problem. Okay, that is important. So that u is the displacement, the displacement, general displacement of the element node that we have taken as a naught, a2x, a3y. We have taken as a simple equation. Here the question is why a1, a2, a3, why not a4, why not a4? A4 some coefficient xy or x square, y square. Here you see that u1, u2, u3, u1, u2, u3, right? u1 is 1 degree of freedom, u2 is the another 1 degree of freedom, u3 is the another 1 degree of freedom. So totally 3. So I am putting u equal, I am using 3 terms, a1, a2, a2x plus a3y, a3y. Suppose one more node having displacement along the x direction, then I have to take something, that is I will show in the next slide, plus a4 x square, a4 x, like that I have to take the expression, the polynomial function. We can call it as it is a polynomial function. What it represents, that u and v, if we know the value of a1, a2, a3, let us assume in this case we know the value of a1, a2, a3, then you substitute that x value and y value, you can find out the displacement of the nodes. Wherever you want, you can find out, right? Similarly, we represent the displacement along the y direction, right? For this element, this is a4, because we already use a1, a2, a3, a4 plus a5x, a6y. If we know the a4, a5, a6, so you substitute that x value and y wherever you want, Say example, this problem, you assume a1, a2, a3 are known data. If you substitute x is equal to x1, y equal to y1, you will get u1. Clear? Am I clear? Similarly, if you substitute x is equal to x3, y equal to y3, you will get u3. Similarly, u2. You substitute x equal to x2, y equal to y2, you will get u2. But in between this 1, 2, 3, we have the x value and y value, but we need a1, a2, a3. So our intention is find out the a1, a2, a3, a4, a5, x. How to do that now? Right now, just now I explained that because the CST element, we are using a constant first polynomial degree a1, I think so, a1, right? a1 a2x plus a3y. If in case of LST, linear strain triangle, LST is linear strain triangle, we are supposed to use a0, a1x, a2y, a3x square, right? A4 xy, a5 y square. Because here it is a 6 node. Like that we can expand. Again, that question is rising. where we have to use CST, where you are used to LST, where you are used to QST, the quadratic strain triangle. That is based on the application. Where the application. If you want to monitor the structure closely, if you want to monitor, if you want to that application, we are focusing we want to closely monitor the deformation of the structure, then you have to go for higher elements. Higher elements means higher polynomial. Higher polynomial. If you are using you want a rough idea, that is application, that member, the safety perspective, it is not so important. Something you are assuming, you are considering like that, then we can take CST. If you want to go for very precise analysis and deformation, you may go for QST and LST. Okay. Again, this only CST. It's very simple. Only we are using three nodes. Three nodes. Again, based on the application. Based on application. So U1 I already told you. If you substitute x equal to x1, y equal to y1, you will get U1. U1 equal to A1, A2x, A3y. Similarly, U2, A1, A2, x2 plus A3, y2. Similarly, U3, A1, A2, A1 plus A2, x3 plus A3, y3. Right? You write it in matrix form. Write it in matrix form. This is 3 cross 1 matrix. 3 cross 1 matrix. Here it is 3 cross 3 matrix. Multiply with the 3 cross 1 matrix. So the left hand side 3 cross 1 matrix, right hand side 3 cross 1 matrix. Right? 3 cross 3. Here it is 3 cross 1. So final is 3 cross 1. Here also 3 cross 1. So we have write it in matrix form. So I already told you our intention is to find out that A1, A2, A3. So you have to take the inverse of this matrix and multiply with U1, U2, U3. So how to find out the inverse of this matrix? That is mathematical fundamental, max fundamental. That is cofactor. We supposed to find out the cofactor plus. You have to write it plus minus plus minus plus minus plus minus plus in this way. This is purely mathematics. Purely mathematics. The cofactor. Found how to find out the inverse of this matrix. The C transpose divided by determinant of that T matrix, determinant of the T matrix. Okay. So here what is that C matrix? That is cofactor of D matrix. Cofactor of D matrix. This is purely it's a mathematics. So the finding the cofactor C11. C11 is the cofactor of first row, first column. First row and first column. So how to find out this cross multiply x2 y3 minus x3 yt. This is a cofactor. Similarly, C12 first row second column. You are getting minus y3 minus y2. Why we write it? We can write y2 minus y3. Y2 minus y3. But we have written as minus within bracket y3 minus y2 because we can write the in cyclic order. That means cyclic order means 1 2 3 node 1 2 3. If you look at this 2 3, then 3 2 3 2. Similarly here you can say after 3 which will right. If we come that 1 actually, but why 1 we should not use here. The first you see the first subscript, that 1 we are using, so you cannot find 1 here. 1 here. Okay. So y3 minus y2, you should not use 1 here, the right hand side, or simple it is a cofactor. That's all. If you know, for easy to understand this, we have written this minus y3 minus within bracket y3 minus y2. Similarly, C21, C22, C23, C31, 32, C32, C33. So you write all the cofactor. What is that? This is C11, C12, C13, C21, C22, C23. This is C31, C32, C33, right? So you take a transpose. We know that determinant also D matrix. We x2 y3 minus x3 y2 minus x1 y3 minus y2 plus y1 x3 minus x2. So this is the area of the triangle. 1 x1 y1, 1 x2 y2, 1 x3 y3. We can find. So A equal to 1 by 2. Why here? We have find the area of the triangle. Area of the triangle. If you see that determinant of D matrix as well as the area of the element, we end up with the same solution except this 1 by 2. 1 by 2, right? Understand what I'm telling? So area equal to 1 by 2 into D. We can write like this. Or determinant is equal to 2 times of area. 2 times of area of that triangular element. Area of the triangle. That's why we have determined this area. While starting my session, I told that you have to mark the nodes in counterclockwise direction. If you mark it in clockwise direction, some cases you will get minus value, area in minus. That's why always you have to numbering the nodes in the counterclockwise direction. Counterclockwise direction. So the determinant of D matrix, we simply replace 2 times of area. 2 times of area. So what we did is a simple mathematics. We have determined A1, A2, A3. A1, A2, A3. That is 1 by 2A. That is x2, y3 minus x3, y2. We have taken as P1. P1 for easy understanding. This is P2. This is P3. This is Q1. This is Q2. This is Q3. This is R1. This is R2. This is R3. Multiply with U1, U2, U3. This is the displacement vector for the element. So P1 is x2, y3 minus x3, y2, right? Y2 minus y3. So we can write it as U as A1, A2x, A3y, 1xy, A1, A2, A3. So U equal to 1xy. We have determined that A1, A2, A3 is 1 by 2A in the previous slide. P1, P2, P3, Q1, Q2, K3, R1, R2, R3, U1, U2, U3. So finally you multiply. This is 1 cross 3 matrix. This is 3 cross 3 matrix. So you multiply 1 cross 3. Multiply is 3 cross 1. Finally you will get 1 cross 3. 1 cross 3. Simple mathematics. So here we are taken as N1, P1, Q1, X plus R1, Y. We are taken as N1. We can call it as shape function. Similarly, P2, Q2, X, R2, Y. Shape function. Actually, 1D bar element also. We know that what is the shape function. P3, Q3, X plus R3, Y. The shape function, easy way to tell the mathematically, if you want to tell, if I substitute X and Y, it shows the deformation of the nodes, the shape of the deformation. And understand what I'm telling. If substitute, our intention is find out the deformation particular node. So if you find out the deformation of the particular node, we should know coordinate. At what node we have to find out the deformation? That's the first question. For that, we need X and Y. Okay, I want to find out that the deformation of the member at a distance X is equal to 4 centimeter, Y equal to 3 centimeter. At that location, I want to find out the deformation. So I need first coordinate, Cartesian coordinate. Cartesian coordinate. So what is this safe function? If you put up your coordinates in that function, put up your coordinate in the function, you can trace the deformation of the element. That's why it is called shape function. We are using function. What is function? Here, this is that function of x comma y. That shape function n1. That function is a function of x comma y. X comma y, only y x comma y, because it is a plane stress problem. Plane stress problem. That's why it is only that x y. If it is some other kind of problem, three-dimensional problem, x y z, safe function may be x y z. Similarly, if you take 1D bar element, it is only the function of x only. Here it is question is rising, why not it is in y and z. My intention, I am assuming that there is no deformations take place along the y direction and in z direction. That's why 1D bar element is subjected to axial load. 1D bar element is subjected to axial load. Only the deformation will take place predominant along the x direction only. Along the x direction. We can't say only the x direction, only one direction. Only one. That's why it is called one direction, not x direction. Not x direction. Right? That's why we are representing its one direction, not x. That one direction may be y direction or z direction, or finally it may be a default we are taking in the x direction. We are taking in the x direction. A member is subjected to a force in the y direction, but that force is acting in the axial direction. That problem also coming under one-dimensional problem. So don't take that if the deformation is taking in the x direction, then only that member is called. Don't say that the member is one dimension. It may be any direction, x direction or y direction or z direction. Okay, that is the meaning of safe function. Safe function. I substitute that x and y value. I can get n1, n2, n3. Now you can see that if you look at this expression, we know n1, n2, n3. Because why? Because we know the x and y. We are modeling a member. Right? If you take any plate, we need four nodes, minimum four nodes: 0, 0, 10, 0, 10, 2, 0, 2. Like that, we are creating a rectangular area using four nodes. So we know the x and y. If you know the x and y, then using this safe function n1, n2, n3, we can find out the displacement of the element. Only that unknown is u1, u2, u3, the outer node. That is a displacement vector. So this is the safe function for what I called triangular element, CST triangular element. So this is a representation as this is a basic FEA is a basic. The FEA, what we are doing, we are discretize the entire structure into small element. The elements are created using nodes. Each node has degrees of freedom. It may be 1 degree or 2 degrees of freedom. Right now we are discussing about 2 degrees of freedom. Each node has 2 degrees of freedom. So how we are finding the stress induced in a member after applying load. First we are determine the displacement. As we know, simple definition, strain is change in length divided by original length. If you know the deformation, we can find out the strain. After finding strain, we can find the stress using Young's modulus in case of one-dimensional problem, or in case of two-dimensional problem, we can call it as stress strain matrix. The D matrix is called stress strain matrix. If one-dimensional problem, What is the relation between strain and stress? That is Young's modulus. That is there is Hooke's law, the fundamental, the strength of material. Fundamental is Hooke's law. That is stress is directly proportional to strain within the elastic limit. If you find out the slope, stress if you are taking in the y direction, strain along the x direction. If you plot stress and strain, it is a straight line up to Young's modulus. Sorry, up to elastic limit. That is a straight line. So you are getting constant slope. So in case of one-dimensional problem, that is the stress and the strain is connected by Hooke's law. That is E. In case of two-dimensional problem, this is called a stress strain matrix. Stress strain is connecting these two that we will see. Then what is here? It is a B matrix. B matrix is connecting the strain and displacement. Strain and displacement matrix. The B matrix which connect the strain and displacement matrix. Okay. Similarly, we know that load and displacement is connected with what they called stiffness matrix. Okay, this is fundamental. So here, if you look at this left hand side, all these structural problems, first we are determined the displacement, then differentiate. We are getting the strain. We are getting the strain. After getting strain, how do we get? We are getting stress by using Young's modulus or stress strain matrix. The left hand side stress is equal to that is in case of two-dimensional problem, stress strain matrix D matrix. This is B into U. B into U is the strain matrix. Strain matrix we can write it as strain displacement matrix into U matrix. So BU. So you get the force vector. Force vector is equal to as a K matrix into displacement matrix. Force vector is equal to K matrix into displacement matrix. We know the K matrix B transpose into D matrix into B matrix. That is what we what we studied in one-dimensional bar element. B transpose into DB, we are getting K matrix into U matrix. So this is the final expression in matrix form. In matrix form, B transpose into D matrix into B into DV for the K matrix. That is called stiffness matrix. While calculating the stiffness matrix for element, we need number of nodes and degrees of freedom. Let us assume in our case 3 nodes are used. Each node has 2 degrees of freedom. 2 degrees of freedom. So the size of the stiffness matrix for an element 6 cross 6. 3 into 2 6. So you'll get 6 cross 6. For one element we have 6 cross 6 matrix. You imagine when you see the size of the matrix, the entire element we are supposed to assemble, that we'll see in the later slide. So similarly, what we did for the U, please understand this U is entirely different from U1, U2, U3. This U represent the displacement function of the entire element. Okay, this U is the displacement along the x direction of the node 1. Don't confuse with this U and this U. The same procedure you have to follow for V, the displacement along the y direction. For V, will end up with the same safe function n1 v1, n2 v2, n3 v3 is missing. V3 is here, is mentioned here. Actually, here you have to supposed to write n3 and v3. So entire thing you write it in matrix form. So u into u, the function of x comma y is equal to n1 u1 plus 0 into v1. It will become 0. Anything is multiplied with 0, you will get 0. So n1 u1 N2 U2 plus N3 U3. You will get the first equation, this equation. Similarly, V N1 V1, N2 V2, N3 V3. You will get the second equation. So what we did here, we write it in matrix form. This two equation is write it in matrix form. So this CST element, we have three strain, dou u by dou x, dou v by dou y. Once again, what is that? Just a minute. We are here we are using dou u by dou x, dou v by dou y. Here it is question, what is that dou u and du? What is the difference that dou u and du? Or I can put it another way, dou u by dou x, dv, du by dx, du by dx. If we look at this, the displacement is the function of x comma y. What does it mean? If x and y varies, the displacement varies. That is the meaning, physical meaning. X changing, you change, you may change. Y changing, you is changing, right? So this is u is the function of x comma y, two variables. Mathematician says the variable u is a function of two variables, that is x comma y. So whenever more than one variable is coming, that is function is coming, then you have to use that dou u by dou x, dou v by dou y, like that. If u is the function of x alone, let us assume u is the function of x alone, then you will get dou u by dou x is equal to du by dx only, du by dx only. So here, since it is a two-dimensional problem, so the displacement is the function of x comma y, two variables. There are two variables. Then we have dou u by dou x, dou v by dou y. So that is the displacement change in length divided by original length, or displacement along the x, or the deformation along the x direction. With respect to x direction, what is the deformation that we have taken as strain, normal strain along the x direction. E represents the strain, change in deformation divided by original length, dou v by. Similarly, along the y direction, dou v by dou y. Then shear strain also dou u by dou y plus dou v by dou x. If any member is subjected to shear strain, we supposed to use this formula, okay, mathematical formula. Arranging the strains in matrix form, we get Ex, Ey, gamma xy, that is a strain along the x direction, strain along the y direction, shear strain along the in the xy plane. We can write this dou u by dou x, dou v by dou y, dou v by dou y plus dou v by dou x. Again here purely mathematics, mathematics. So this is we know u equal to n1 u1 plus n2 u2 plus n3 u3. As I already told you, n1, n2, n3 are is a function of x comma y. So we can find out, if you can differentiate dou n1 by dou x u1 plus dou n2 by dou x u2 plus dou n3 dou x u3. This way you can get dou u by dou x. What I have done here, the place of u, you can write n1 u1 plus n2 u2 plus n3 u3. So I am doing partial differentiation. So that n1, what is that n1? 1 by 2a, right? t1 plus t1x plus r1y. Right. Similarly, we can do it for y direction. And the third one is for strain along the xy plane. So all the parameters you write it in matrix form. Parameter is in matrix form. What is that? All the parameters means all the three equation: equation 1, equation 2, equation 3. right? We have the many terms and parameters. We are rearranging all the things in matrix form. Matrix form. The simplest way to explain this, if you take a first row, multiply with this column, you will get the first equation. All right. So dou n1 dou x into u1, you will get this term. Similarly, dou n2 dou x into u2 you will get the second term. Similarly, dou n3 dou x into u3, you will get the third term. Remaining 0. Remaining 0. So first row, this column, you will get this equation. Second row, this column, second equation. Third row, this column, this is the third equation. Third equation, we know that n1 is the function of x comma y, comma p1 q1x r1y. So again dou n by dou n1 by dou x, because we need dou n1 by dou x, that is q1 by 2a, q1 by 2a. This is constant, becomes 0. This is already, this is a constant. This is, y is constant. We have to assume y is a constant. p1 is also a constant. It's become 0. So dou n1 by dou x equal to q1 by 2a. Similarly, dou n2 by dou x equal to q2 dou by 2a. Dou n3 by dou x equal to q3 by 2a. Similarly, for y direction, dou n1 by dou y. So finally, you can rearrange this. This is the important equation. This is the left hand side is a strain matrix is equal to strain displacement matrix into U matrix, right? So that is the this is B matrix. This is B matrix 1 by 2a q1 0 q2. This we have taken. So the B matrix is called strain displacement matrix because this matrix is connecting the strain as well as the displacement of the element. That's why it is called strain displacement matrix. The notation we are using the B matrix. If you look at this B matrix, or if you look at the strain, so almost is constant for a triangle. For a triangular element, or I can put it in another triangular element, it is constant. It is not a function of any x and y. That's why it is called constant strain triangle. Constant strain triangle because it is not any function of any parameter x, y. That's why it is called constant strain triangle, CST triangle. Right. Similarly, this is we supposed to find out the uh, how to find out the stress and strain is connected by stress strain matrix or constitutive matrix, the D matrix. So for that, again you have to go to that strength of material fundamental. Strain along the x direction equal to stress along the x direction divided by Young's modulus minus gamma Poisson ratio. Stress along the y direction divided by strain, Young's modulus minus gamma Poisson ratio, stress along the z direction divided by E. This is a formula for the strain along the x direction for three-dimensional body. Similarly, for strain along the y direction, strain along the z direction, this is a formula. So I have equation 1, 2, 3. So we know that plane stress problem, stress along the z direction equal to 0. Similarly, shear in the xz plane and shear in the yz plane is equal to 0. Z plane is equal to 0. So you substitute in this first equation. Equation will become like this. First equation will become, because sigma z is equal to 0. Sigma z is equal to 0. Similarly, second equation will become fifth equation, right? Right. Sigma z 0. I substitute this condition in the previous equations. So you will get sigma x, sigma y, right? Then we know that shear stress is equal to shear strain. How to connect the tau equal to G into gamma shear strain here, which is connecting by modulus of rigidity or shear modulus. Shear modulus. Similarly, we know that what do you call it? Shear modulus and Young's modulus is a relation. Again, the strength of material fundamental. Then I can write it for tau xy. The stress in the xy plane is equal to stress in the xy plane is equal to E divided by 2 within bracket 1 plus gamma into strain gamma y. I substitute that G value. Substitute the G value here. I will get this. Here I have put xy because the stress only induced in the xy plane only. Xy plane. Similarly, stress induced in the YZ E divided by 2 1 plus gamma gamma YZ. Similarly, tau zx means zx plane. Zx plane. Here 2D element zx equal to 0. Zx is equal to 0 to achieve 1 minus square of Poisson ratio. In the denominator, you can rearrange this equation. A square minus b square formula. A plus b into a minus b I have used. So this is the final expression. Is here you can see that is stress connecting matrix. The D matrix is a connecting matrix, connecting stress and strain. That's why it is called stress strain matrix. The strain matrix which is connecting. In case of one dimensional bar element, you can say Poisson ratio. We are neglecting the Poisson ratio. That means not Poisson ratio. We are not neglecting the Poisson ratio. The deformation along the y direction, z direction, we are neglecting. How can we neglect? We theoretically we are assuming that that is the Poisson ratio is 0. Poisson ratio is 0. So you put Poisson ratio, everything is 0 here. Then what will happen? Stress sigma x equal to Young's modulus into Ex. Remaining everything will become 0. Remaining everything is 0. That's why for one dimensional problem, the stress is equal to Young's modulus into strain. Similarly, for strain, the same thing, same at what we did in the simple mathematics. This is for whole. If we are considering all these stresses and strain, stresses and strain for 3D structure, 3D member or 3D element, 3D element. This is a stress matrix. This is a strain matrix. This is a stress strain matrix, which is connecting stress and strain. Here we have considered all the stresses, stresses and strain. From this, for normal plane strain problem, the strain along the z direction equal to 0. Then shear strain in the xz plane and yz plane is equal to 0. That type of problem is called plane strain problem. Whenever we are talking about that plane strain, again that same thing. You have to look at the what is strain. What is strain? Change in length divided by original length. General definition. If change in length is small, compare with the original length, then the strain is negligible. Generally, if you take all the textbook, the plane strain problem, they are giving that example dam. If you look at the dam, right? I'm taking that the z direction of the dam, right? Such a dam, if you look at the dam, imagine the length of the dam. It's so big. In the direction, in this direction, strain is very small. Strain is because the length of the dam is it's a very big. So I'm finding the deformation along that dam length divided by original length, it is negligible. It is negligible. So in this way, you have to approach what is that, whether it is coming under plane stress or plane strain, right? With the fundamental knowledge, you have to apply while doing analysis. If I'm telling the example, okay, immediately you can apply. If you are designing any member, right? Yeah, any mechanical member. If you are applying a force on the member, what is the orientation of the force? What is the impact of the force on that member? How much it's going to elongation? How the member is going to elongate? In what direction it is going to elongate? That approach is required for determine or finding that for applying that plane, whether the problem is coming under plane stress or plane strain. Okay. So if the plane strain cases, the strain along the z direction is equal to 0. Similarly, shear strain in the xz plane and yz plane is equal to 0. So the 6x6, that is what we did for the three-dimensional problem, right? You apply all the condition. Strain z direction equal to 0. So you eliminate the third row. Immediately, third row. Similarly, yz equal to 0. Third row, third column you eliminate. Similarly, fifth row, fifth column you eliminate. So the remaining is the strain, stress, displacement, sorry, stress strain matrix for plane stress problem. Plane stress problem. We derived from the three-dimensional problem. Derived from the three-dimension problem. Otherwise, you can directly derive. That is purely it is a mathematics. Purely this is what we did conventional method. You can do it. What I did for plane stress, the same thing you can do it. Same thing you do it. So there are plane stress problem is there, plane strain is there. Then three-dimensional problem, you are to supposed to use this matrix, this 6x6 matrix, three-dimensional problem. For plane stress, plane strain, you don't want to use this. You don't want to, you eliminate this third row, third column, fifth row, fifth column, you eliminate. Remaining, you can see we have only 3 rows and 3 column. 3 rows and 3 column. This matrix is we are going to use for plane strain problems. Okay. So this is a D matrix. This is a D matrix. So this is K matrix. K matrix dV, change in volume. Change in volume, we can write it as integration of volume dV. We are getting V. What is V? Volume of the element. Volume of the element, volume of the any member, cross section area into thickness. If the thickness is uniform, if any member thickness is uniform, you can multiply the thickness with the area, you will get the volume. Get the volume. Area of the triangular element, we know that 1 by 2, that is a determinant of this matrix, 1x1 y1, 1x2 y2, 1x3 y3. So this is plane stress problem. This is plane strain problem. Okay. So that the B matrix we had derived. So the simple problems are for determine the shape function for a triangular element. So here once again I am telling this is a part of a member, right? Part of a member, or I would say a element is taken from a discretized member, right? So this is the element, triangular element 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. So node 1 is located at the distance of 2, 3. Node 2 is located at the distance of 7, 4. Node 3 is located at the distance of 4, 7. 4, determine the shape function n1, n2, n3 at the interior point P for the triangular element shown below. P is located 3.5, 5. As we know, x1 is the coordinate of node 1 is located at a distance of 2, y1 is 3, Similarly, x2 they are located at a distance of 7. Y2 is 4, x3 is 4, y3 is 7. You sometimes the 1 and 2, 1, 2, 3, you have to write it in, you have to take it in counterclockwise direction, that I already told you, right? But any node you can take it as 1. Say example, the node 2 you may take it as 1, no problem. Node 3 you can take it as 2. Node 1 you can take it as 3. It's no issue. You can do it, no problem. In the cyclic order you can take. At a point 3.5, y equal to 5. My intention to find the save function. And the save function, it's, I already told you, it's a function of x comma y. Function of x comma y. If x and y gets varied, then what will happen? That n1, n2, n3 gets varied, different value. But the beauty at the node 1, n1 is equal to 1, n2, n3 are 0. Remaining nodes are 0. Similarly, node 2, n2 equal to 1, n1, n3 0. Similarly, node 3, n3 equal to 1, n1, n2 0. 1, 0. In between this 1, 2, 3, we will have some n1, n2, n3, but you will add the summation of these two n1, n2, n3, you will have a 1. It will not more than 1. More than 1. So n1, n2, n3 equal to 1. As we know, x is equal to n1, x1 plus n2, x2, n3, x3, y equal to n1, y1, n2, y2 plus n3, y3. So you solve this, but actually here we have used the x is equal to the same safe function can be used to represent the coordinates, coordinate, that we can call it as isobarametric element, parametric element. The same, what I try to say, the same safe function can be used to represent the coordinates of the element, coordinates of the element. Similarly, the same safe function is used to represent the displacement of the element. Okay, that concept is applied here, or you can directly you can use that formula n1 I think so, n1 is equal to 1 by 2a within bracket t1 plus q1x plus r. You can use the same formula. You can find out n1, n2, n3. You leave it. Or if you are strong in isoparametric after end of this program, okay. I don't know whether in your schedule the isoparametric topic is there. After completing the isoparametric topic, you can use the same safe function for expressing the coordinate of the elements using the same function, right? We can find out n1, n2, n3. Similarly, this is another one problem, the same problem, right? This is a second, this is another one. This is n3, right? So there are various problems. Here determine the stiffness for a CST element shown in figure assuming plane stress condition. Take E equal to 210 gigapascal, gamma Poisson ratio is 0.25, thickness is 10 mm. Thickness is 10 mm. We have to assume plane stress condition. Plane stress condition, we know the x1, y1, x2, y2, x3, y3, Poisson ratio and Young's modulus are given. The thickness also given in your problem. So the stiffness matrix. So this is a one element of the member or structure. This is general formula B transpose. The strain displacement matrix or the transpose multiply with strain D matrix. D matrix means strain stress relationship matrix. D matrix multiply with B matrix area into thickness. So thickness is 0.01 in terms of meter. Area you can find. Area you can find actually this is a triangle, direct triangle. You can use of BH because y1 and y2 are uh, located at the same uh, uh, coordinate. Coordinate means the same y-axis, constant y-axis. So you can use of BH directly. You can area of the triangle. You can use of BH. The another way to do that. If you have y1 and y2 are not equal, then it's very tough to use that of BH. If wherever it is possible, if directly you can use of BH, finding the area of the triangle. Otherwise, you have to use that matrix. You have to find out the determinant of that matrix. So we know the area, and T we know that B matrix is strain displacement matrix. Strain displacement matrix. And if you know the D matrix, while writing the D matrix, we have to take the D matrix for plane stress problem. After that only we have the mathematics. So they have used the of pH, of into B into H. B is 60, H is 90. So 2700 mm square, or you can use the determinant thing, right? We know the B matrix formula for the B matrix 1 by 2a q1 0 q2 0 q3. So you substitute all the values, you will get B matrix. You find the D matrix E by 1 minus gamma square, because why? Because the question it is given plane stress problem. That's why I have taken the D matrix. Now question paper it is given, or question it is given, or in your analysis you are assuming that it is a plane strain, then you have to take the corresponding D matrix. D into B matrix. Multiply D matrix and B matrix, that is multiply with B transpose. B transpose, you will get this. All mathematical work. So this is a stiffness matrix. So you see how big you are getting 6 cross 6 matrix. Why you are getting 6 cross 6 matrix for each element? Because this CST triangle has 3 nodes. Each node has 2 degrees of freedom. So number of nodes into degrees of freedom per node. So in our case, number of nodes is 3. Degrees of freedom for each node is 2, right? Multiply with 2. So 3 into 2, 6. So you'll get 6 cross 6 matrix. You'll get 6 cross 6 matrix. Let us take the one-dimensional bar element. Each node has 1 degrees of freedom. So each element has 2 nodes. So number of nodes is 2. Each degrees of freedom is 1. 2 into 1. 2 cross 2. That's why one-dimensional bar element AE by L 1 minus 1 minus 1 1 we are writing. So that is a fundamental for this stiffness matrix. If you look at this stiffness matrix, this is the element stiffness matrix. Elements such way that you have to do calculate stiffness matrix for all the elements in the structure. Then you have to connect. You have to assemble it. Assembling all the stiffness matrix, then you will get the overall stiffness matrix of the entire structure. Then you have to apply the boundary condition while solving the problem, right? So solving the two-dimensional problem is somewhat complicated. We cannot do manually, so we need a software. A commercial software, or any mathematical solver is required. Similarly, this is also the same thing. We have another one type of problems, right? Again, this is a plane stress. So again, my principal stresses, principal strain you can calculate. My major and minor principal stress you can calculate. This is also same. This is another kind of problem. See, this is a typical example for plane stress problem. The member is subjected to axial load. Say example, in the application point of view, if you take ship propeller shaft, in a ship, A propeller shaft is there, end of the shaft, there is a blade is rotating, a propeller is rotating. So propeller is, when the propeller is rotating, thrust is induced in the axial direction. Thrust is induced in the axial direction. So that member is subjected to plane stress generally. The ship, propeller. Similarly, the automotive, the cooling system fan is rotating, it is subjected to thrust, axial thrust is subjected to. So that kind of problem we can do, we can consider as plane stress problem. We can do analysis. So this is a typical example. A member is subjected to axial thrust per mm square area. 0.4 Newton is acting. 0.4 Newton is acting. So we are assuming that it is a plane stress problem. We can do it. How? Because it is thin plate. But if we see that if the T is acting, suppose perpendicular to this plane, that is 500 cross 250 mm plane. Suppose it is acting like this in this direction. So we cannot consider that problem with respect to a conventional what is shown here. We cannot solve the problem as a plane stress because that's induced bending. That's induced bending. We cannot assume that it is a plane stress problem. Suppose if you change the orientation of this plate, you can assume that it is a plane stress problem. Okay. So how you are approaching the problem, that is very important. Right? Important. So if you are, the force is applying in this direction, that's create a bending. What I try to say, this thrust, that means 0.4 Newton per mm square, it is acting perpendicular to 250 and 500 mm area. This area perpendicular to that area, perpendicular to the plane, then we cannot use plane stress. We cannot assume it is a plane stress because that's induced bending. So the same procedure here, the entire structure into divide into two element. The same thing. Again, it is a simple mathematics. Nothing to explain here. Strong enough in mathematics, we can do it. To apply the formula. So this is for element 2. This is for element 2. Right. Generally, that is a symmetric matrix. K matrix will be symmetric matrix. That is one more point is very important. K matrix is symmetric matrix. So I applied the boundary condition over here. How I applied the boundary condition? Because U1, V1, U4, V4 are 0 because it is fixed. If you look at this member, sorry. Look at this member, node 1 and 4 are fixed. So there is no, what does it mean? No deformation take along the x direction and y direction. So that is a boundary condition. So we put the boundary condition, we applied the boundary condition, and we solve this. So purely it is a mathematics. After solving the mathematics, we can get the result like V3, U3, V2, U2. What is V3? The displacement of node 3 along the y direction. What is U3? There is a displacement of node 3 along the x direction. Similarly, V2 and U2. So this is for linear strain triangle. So instead of 3 nodes, there are 6 nodes. You imagine this is a function. For constant strain triangle, we have only A0, A1x plus A3y, only 3 unknown. A1, A2, A3 are unknown. But in case of linear straight triangle, A4, A5, A6, because there are 6 degrees of freedom along the x direction. That's why it is taken as 6. You cannot take A7 something, what do you call x cube. We cannot solve that. We cannot do it. We cannot finish because one boundary condition is missing. We cannot apply it. The same thing again. There is the same story. Only thing. if you take the strain displacement matrix, it's a function of x. It's a function of x or y. That's why it is called linear strain triangle. Linear strain triangle. If it is a constant, then it is called constant strain triangle. So here, if you take the B matrix, if you find out the strain, that is a function of x and y. That's why it is called linear strain triangle. In case of CST, it is a constant, so it is called constant strain triangle. Entire throughout the element, the strain is constant. So this time, I think so. Time 1:30. Better I can wind up. Murugan sir, this is my email ID.
Thank you, Ganesh.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
So participants, if you have any questions, you can put it in the chat box, or otherwise unmute yourself and ask it to the professor. So we have isoparametric element session also tomorrow.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, very good, sir.
Yes.
Okay, very good. Because I didn't notice that.
Yes. Participants, any questions? Okay, I think there is no question. So thank you, Professor Ganesh.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for your wonderful session.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Thank you. Can I leave, sir?
Yes, sir, you can leave.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Participants, we have a third session and practical demo using ANSYS Workbench. Actually, it is scheduled at 2:30 p.m. But today we are going to start at 2 p.m. So third session start at 2 p.m. today. Use the session 3 link, participants. Using the session 3 link, you can join the third session. It is on practical demonstration class in ANSYS Workbench. So you can join with us at 2 p.m. Not 2:30 participant, 2 p.m. we have to join.